All right, this presentation isn't a presentation, it's just me talking. Commentary video. Anyways, it's about rudeness. The number 26 episode. Wow. It, I'm starting strong after the quarter. I mean, rudeness is one of those tools that I choose to use because I recognize that people don't deserve to be treated nicely anymore. They're horrible people. And you have to fight the monsters that they are. I found a very interesting example when putting a mirror in front of every single monster type. So, welcome to the demon world. We have 4 monster types: a zombie, a creepy werewolf, and vampire. What do they do in front of a vampire mirror? A vampire would just not see himself in the mirror. I don't exist in that mirror. There's no me. That was the image that we got. The most notorious image. There is no vampire on the mirror. There is no me. He doesn't have to look at himself, right? He wants to look at other people and how disgusting and stupid other people are. But the vampire will never be able to see himself in the mirror. Like, never. The zombies also never gonna see themselves in the mirror because they can see. They operate totally on instinct and feelings. They don't even have eyes to see in the mirror. They don't want to see. But they don't even practice the ability to see. They don't need that. And whatever they don't need, they get rid of that stuff. They get rid of every inner thing within themselves that would heal them over time. They don't need those organs. They don't need the heart. They just need the feelings. But most importantly, they need the brain. The brain is where all the feelings comes from. The brain is what feeds the illusion of feelings in a way. Because everything else in the body is more like a way to give you energy, a way to give you reflexes of how to behave in certain situations, and the sexual stuff. We have organs for that, but zombies don't care about that. They care about the brain only, because it gives them experience, a direct experience, a direct feeling, and chemicals that they need to operate themselves under. They don't need to look. They can just eat brain and see that way, if you can imagine, like through memories of other people. Very interesting. The creeper doesn't want to look into the mirror. Obviously, if he would look, he would see like, oh shit, it's too creepy. But who cares about the mirrors? Who cares about me anyways? Who cares about how I live? What do I do? I will not care about myself whatsoever. That's kind of what I do sometimes. I don't really care to look at myself in the mirror, but sometimes, or lately, I started looking like, okay, I'm gonna take care of that little thing that I have sticking out of my head, which is called hair, and kind of put it together a little bit. And it felt pretty cool. It felt a little bit against my instinct of not caring about myself and not looking into the mirror at all. And yeah, but that's the nature of like completely not caring about yourself and not looking at yourself because you don't want to do that. The werewolf is going to look at himself in the mirror. Strangely enough, out of all the characters, out of all the monsters, he's going to look into the mirror and destroy the mirror. He's going to love himself when he looks in the mirror, he's like, oh, yeah, I look pretty great, but I hate the mirror for some reason. Like, it's hypocritical, right? Well, you like yourself, but like you hate the mirror. Why are you destroying everything, right? But it's a very destructive force. It's gonna make him. He's gonna say he loves himself, but like he's gonna get angry at something very stupid, right? Something that directly relates to their problem, but they're gonna blame the mirror. Like, this is ridiculous. And that's what a werewolf does. Destroys the mirror. He sees himself and destroys the mirror because he blames the mirror for the fault of what has been shown. So neither of the monster types are capable of looking at themselves and recognizing themselves. That's what makes them a monster. Is if people have personalities that they cannot look at themselves anymore, they become the monsters. And you should be very aware, should be very careful not to, avoid people. That was a very interesting video that I bumped into. 3 reasons why people are a complete waste of time. Because they are monsters. Now, this video again hinted at the same idea that people don't look into themselves. They do everything. They take friends, they take drugs, they just try to escape loneliness and self-reflection because that is going to reveal to them the mirror, the reflection of who they are. Spending time on their own, being lonely is going to be a very reflective experience, and is going to start destroying, like this meditation process is going to start destroying the monster, and the monster doesn't want to be destroyed, right? The reason why the monster doesn't want to look at himself, it is going to attack itself necessarily. So you have to force yourself to look at yourself for who you are and who you really are, who you really feel and know. And you have to acknowledge every little piece of thing that you have been through, and that you have made mistakes. I made mistakes. I might have been too rude to some people. I recognize that. My friend calls me out as being overly rude. Okay. But at the same time, I certainly do. I am poor, right? I cannot have an internet right now and be like, yeah, I don't want to waste money. I don't want to waste time here. I don't want to waste effort. And my phone works so well. I have discovered a way to make easy videos without a hassle. It's great. And it might be rude for some people that I'm not editing or anything. I'm not reading from a script. I'm trying to do the best I can, the most kind of from the passionate side of things. And it doesn't matter what people say about me. You have to make up your own mind. You have to be subjective, look from your own perspective instead of what other people think, if you have the time for it. Because you will not be hurt by ideas. The vaccines, you might be hurt by vaccines, absolutely. Because you cannot actually digest those things you put directly into the bloodstream, whatever it is in there, right? But the videos that people are just talking, right? People are just talking about their opinion on things. And it's not harmful. You can digest it slowly. And I hope I present it also in a way that is understandable, at least. That you can follow the series of steps. And so, yeah, I say that I am rude because people deserve to be mistreated. It's not me who has the fault most often. As a creeper surely I lower my ego and say, yes, I have thousands of faults, but that's who I am. And you can mistreat me as well. But I also need to be able to mistreat you. That's the rule that the creepers have. And I know this is not the rule that everyone is going to be able to agree. Everyone has the monster inside of them for how unexposed certain things were in your life or whatever. But most importantly, like you cannot really just delete your nature, because you will be left with nothing. You have to accept that you've made a life choice to live a life a certain way, and it works that way. It's just fine, right? You're experiencing a certain pocket of life, and you can expand that pocket the way you see fit. Beyond that part, let's say I'm a game developer and I can actually make any type of game. I can expand in any sort of direction from there, but I still gonna be a game developer, right? So the same goes for personalities. I'm a creeper, but I can be anything beyond that point. I can do whatever I want. I just have to kind of admit that I have a nature, but beyond that, it might expand above my nature. I might be able to defeat and overcome my nature, just like a game developer can overcome its own nature of where it started from. You start with game development, but you end up knowing everything. Like, that's great. You can start from anywhere, I believe, and end up anything you want to be. So nature is just that. It's just where you start. And this is very important to understand when you're searching for a community. The community aspect is going to be everything for the next few, what? Is it decade? Yeah, I guess it is decades. So yeah, a bunch of decades. I say 50 years, and we're gonna completely press the reset button, and we're gonna shut down the socialism and enter communism. I say modern socialism, or I call this the modern socialism because we're still gonna have socialism. This is where everything starts. We sort of unlearn all the languages, we unlearn all these things that we know, and we start completely from scratch at this point. We sort of play on an empty play field once again and try new things. But now we know which communities we belong to, which is very fascinating to me, because it's all just gonna, that would take us to move step forward, is just figuring out what personalities we have and coming together into communities. That's all that it would take. But until that happens, people have to be very much educated for that personalities actually exist, and that there are 4 ways to accept the truth. And this will take a while. I kind of expanded a little bit on the clock itself, so I kind of see a few steps now. I do believe the soon apocalypse. I'm very interested there as well. There's stages here. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's gonna happen, like in the last 10 years. Is there gonna be apocalypse? Because the governments will have to give up their power to communities, simply because the communities now can manage themselves independently. They can create the government if they choose to. That's fine, but they will not choose to do that for the very beginning. Who knows how it's going to work out? And obviously governments will try and be hostile against this idea because they're going to be completely wiped out. And that's the reset button. The authority is going to be removed entirely. That's what's going to reset the most. But let's, again, I expanded this a little bit. So right now we have this capitalistic platforms. We started with movies, and I go back even more. I say 1.4.2 was a population explosion. Because we have some female energy, like, what does that even mean? What is 1.4.1? Before population explosion. Innovation? Explosion? I think it was an innovation explosion. Simply because an authority wanted to explore things. Then authority wanted to learn its identity, so it exploded in population. Now authority wants to become notorious, so it exploded in capital platforms, which means they wanted to own the media to become notorious, right? To create these political ideologies that would fight each other. And the next step, the last step, is to create more authorities. An authority will want to create itself, recreate itself in other people. So whoever is going to be successful in these capital platforms, as I say, this is the battle royale stage. Whoever beats other people, basically, whoever sustains themselves, like a Kriparian sustaining himself on Hearthstone, being the most #1 Hearthstoner at this point. And you can take any gaming platform. These platforms are rising. There's so many of them. Every single game developer kind of realizes that and says, okay, we're going to make a multiplayer platforms that we always going to put in development. That is very important. Even Minecraft is doing that same exact thing. We're creating these platforms. We're going to be creating these platforms for 5 more years. And these platforms are themselves competing right now. And after those 5 years, after they stop competing, after we have a decent establishment of platforms, then people will be able to claim authority. Now we just sort of have a battle royale of people writing trends and expecting Minecraft not to be dead. Is it dead? Is it gonna be overcome by some other platform? Who knows? It's not popular. People have a lot of doubts on the platforms that they are in. Kriparian himself talked about why he is still with Hearthstone, that Hearthstone has a community, and sort of he stuck with it. So it's very interesting perspective, isn't it? We have all these rising platforms, and I am saying that Minecraft has to be overcompeted, and I have this very small pocket of time, 5 more years, I believe, where I can still outcompete and create my own platform. If I can do that, that would be fantastic. Because I will claim a lot of authority, but I obviously will have to let someone else claim authority because I'm making the game, right? I can't really claim authority, I already have. As much authority as someone else who claims over my creations. It's kind of weird how that will work, I'm not exactly sure. I certainly just want to kind of jump on the trend of building these capitalistic platforms. Because you get quite a benefit if you do that. And at the same time, it perhaps pushes the clock a little faster, who knows. So when people kind of get bored for all these platforms popping up, and when they settle down to invest into a certain platform when platforms themselves become very reliable and tell to the people that they will change a lot of things and add a lot of things and they will learn. That changes completely, and people are now going to start trying to claim authority instead of trying to figure out which game is going to survive over time. And people are trying to do that already, but I don't think they're going to succeed too much because you still need to figure out which platforms are going to sink and which ones are going to float, right? It's still not exactly obvious. The battle royale happens not between people but platforms themselves, which is something that I overlooked, I believe. And the next step after that, as people claim the authority on these platforms, I think they will create their own Fuck! That is even more weird. Well, they're gonna have to branch out at this point. As they claim the authority on those platforms, something weird might happen afterwards. It's very hard to predict, but that's very interesting, right? It says the authority will be claimed on the platform, and then the authority will kind of take over the platform. That's what the clock tells me. And it seems to be very consistent with the story. I love it. I love this shit. This is wonderful. It's a wonderful story. It's so consistent with what is going on in the political stuff. You look at it all and it fits. And was that rude? Well, you fucking deserve that. I don't know, I mixed in two topics in a way. I mixed in a lot of things, but and what is the conclusion? Well, the conclusion is that I can see shit is happening, right? The community aspect is going to be a huge deal. And these communities are sort of developing themselves. And if you have a nice platform, you can sort of get there. Because these platforms are going to be the key. The key in unlocking these communities. The most successful platforms are going to be like inspiration for these communities. And I think I'm capable of creating one, which is a very important part in this equation, right? Great. Let's keep going.